the first kind of sort of seed or inkling of this idea was actually ended up being something that we decided that we want to build up to. And this is the ever elusive, right? Like AI video feedback. I think that what you just mentioned, uploading a video, getting feedback on that video from an AI is where the world is heading in all movement-based sports. We want to be the foundation of that. But I think, in 2030, 2040, no matter
Wow.
what sport you use, you're going to be using some form of AI to get better.
Sid, welcome to the show, man.
What's up, Adolfo? So happy to be here, man. Yeah, you've done some great things with the pod, so happy to be here.
Awesome. So, Sid, you are one of the head cheeses at SubmissionSensAI. AI.
Submission Sensei. We call it Submission Sensei, but if people want to call it Sensei AI, let them do whatever. Yeah.
I'm sure there's a lot of people like, what is this? We have no idea. Please explain that.
For sure, Adolfo. So Submission Sensei is your AI grappling coach. It's the coach that you wish you had that's in your pocket. And I just, stepping it back from, this flashy AI thing, I just want to talk a little bit about like what is the key kind of problem that we're trying to solve, right? And I think the problem is related to, like, in my opinion, I don't know if you agree with this, Adolfo, but it's like the single most not talked about, underrated thing that no white belt really learns up until they hit maybe like, mid 2-stripe, 3-stripe white belt. And that is self-study. Like no one seems to talk about this. No one seems to talk about how to self-study well outside of just going to class, learning those techniques that your instructor teaches you. No one tells you how much you should self-study to achieve your goals, to get from white to blue, if that's your goal. If your goal is to, compete at white belt. No one really talks about that. For me, I learned, that I should be spending a large amount of my work, jiu-jitsu related study outside of the classroom. When I went to a competitive gym and I got my ass kicked by like every single white belt there. And I asked them like, how did you do that? Right. And they were like, well, Sid, I legit like binge watch instructionals. I was like, okay, that sounds freaking boring. Like I've tried listening to Danaher for like 10 minutes on the internet, can't get through it. Then, COVID hit, Adolfo, and I was like, okay, maybe I should actually spend time investing in these instructionals. And I'm like, these are pretty pricey things, right? They're like $200, $300 for a good one. Maybe you get it on sale. Maybe it's like, $80. So the first instructional I bought, I still remember it was like 2 or 3 months before COVID hit. It was Danaher's half guard. Right? So I watch Danaher's half guard, Go Faster Further, and I put it on like 1.5x because you kind of have to. I listened to the entire thing like end to end, man. And the craziest thing happened. Like I didn't drill a single move. Like I binged this, like you binge Netflix over the weekend, right? I didn't drill a single move. I tried to drill something with my fiance and she was like, stop doing this, Sid. Like, I don't want to do this. So I couldn't drill a single move. The next week, and I've only been training jiu-jitsu for like maybe 4 or 5 months. And the next week, like I was hitting moves that I'd never drilled before, moves that I saw in the instructional. I was like, how is this even possible? Like, I'm a shitty white belt. There's no like real rhyme or reason for me just to be hitting these moves without having drilled them before. Specifically, he showed a deep half out the back move, or, come up on a single. He kind of a single to knee tap. He showed that in the instructional. And I was like, wow, like maybe I'm not super shit at jiu-jitsu. Like as a 5'5", 140-pound grappler, like getting Americana at every fucking class, every class, getting American every class. I was like, you know what?
Welcome to the
like,
club.
Yeah, right. Forever white belt. I still get Kimura. I still get Americana. But yeah, like I just found that, man, just by virtue of watching these instructionals and just watching even like the same clip like over and over again, I was hitting these moves without even drilling them. And then, actually that was kind of the seed for this idea. And then of course, only 6 months ago did we really start building something like this. And our approach to solving this, this kind of key problem, how do you self-study effectively, given that these instructionals are 10 hours long and so time consuming and, it takes him an hour to get to the point. We thought, hey, if there's a way that we can integrate ChatGPT, but have it output GIFs, so little small snippets of moves to supplement your training, that can help you as a grappler get so much better. So say I want to ask,
Yeah, brilliant.
if I ask the coach, right, like, my shots keep failing, what do I do? I never grew up as a wrestler, right? I never wrestled in my life. I didn't know what a peek out was, right? I didn't know you could go from a peek out back to a single to a double, or you could integrate that into, another deep half move. And what we want to do with Submission Sensei is, you can ask it any single question, any single situational question, and it'll give you an answer with a GIF. So you can save that looping GIF. You can watch it 30, 40 times, however many times, and subconsciously your mirror neurons will just end up absorbing this information. So the next time you drill, you may not consciously remember, but subconsciously things will start happening. I just add one more thing here, Adolfo, is I was really hesitant as we were kind of creating this, like, hey, is this the right approach? Is the GIF approach the right approach? And, we haven't tested this at scale. We were kind of only releasing this to a small early access community right now that's really passionate about martial arts, and are good enough really to give feedback. But I was listening to a podcast that Joseph Chen gave. And, for those of you who don't know, Joseph Chen, man, he's a beast passer, right? Tripod passing, just legendary. And he was asked, how did he get so good? And everyone knows, I think a lot of people know, he watched a lot of instructionals, but his approach to self-study was so fascinating. He would watch Danaher on 2 times speed and then screen record just the move, 15 to 1 minute, 15-second to 1 minute move. And he saved them. And then right before going into an open mat or drilling, he'd review the ones he wanted to work on. And I was like, wait, that's exactly what we're doing. We're bringing Joseph Chen's philosophy to getting freaking good at jiu-jitsu. Obviously, he also trains a lot. That's also a must. Train as much as you can, roll a lot. But we're bringing his approach to this AI grappling coach, which I think is really, really neat.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you mentioned the white belt part of it too. I've been on a couple other podcasts where they asked me, what kind of advice would you give to a white belt, first day, what's the most important? And I always answer with take ownership of your learning as soon as you can. And that's exactly what you'd mentioned in the beginning, right? And yeah, but what does that mean, right? That's a general sort of nebulous sort of statement, right? But a critical one. And what I love too about what you guys are doing with the GIF thing too, for people that aren't familiar with this, with technology in general, GIF is a very small sized, almost like an image, repeating image type of thing. And it's very efficient and smart of you guys from the tech side, from the back end, sort of, to not have to deal with MP4s, these giant video files or anything like that, but to deal with this tiny little GIF. That was brilliant, by the way. And also, just from like a science aspect too, when you talk about watching videos and things like that, professional teams use visualization, right? It's a very core component and it's science backed, so when people talk about not watching instructionals, not watching videos in order to learn, I'm like, what are you doing? This is super an additional fantastic tool which should be added to your arsenal in terms of education and to learning, and obviously regular practice, and if if you want to do whatever eco or not, that's a separate conversation.
I totally agree. Actually, like, that reminded me, Adolfo, of like this study, and I'm going to butcher the actual study. So, I'm not a scientist, right? But there was a study that said, basically, if you take a group of people that actually, they had 3 groups of people, one of whom went to the gym, did bicep curls, right? One of whom didn't do anything, right? They didn't have any sort of gym training. And then they had one group that thought about doing bicep curls, visualized. And then there's another study where they actually watched someone else do it. What was really fascinating is like this group that just thought or visualized themselves doing bicep curls gained muscle mass. That's, to your point, the power of visualizing. So a tremendous kind of jiu-jitsu mentor to me is Carlos Vera, he was on the Ultimate Fighter, trained under 50/50 where I train. And, I still remember like we would do like striking lessons. He teach me some striking stand-up because I didn't know how to wrestle until like 2 years ago. And he was saying, I still remember like he had to cut one of our sessions short because he, as a professional athlete, had to go to visualization practice. I was like, what does that mean? He's like, well, my sports psych told me I got to go visualize exactly what I'm going to do from the moment I step into the ring. And sure enough, like he was like a massive underdog for this fight. I forgot who was against, and then he beat him with the same technique. I'm assuming that he visualized. So to your point, the more that you can visualize yourself doing the move and spend time, like dedicated time, like you call it meditation, call it whatever, just close your eyes and think of you doing the move. If you don't have access to a gym, if you're like me, we have day jobs, maybe you have a family, you don't have time, cultivate time to at least visualize yourself doing the move, or see someone else doing the move, or in our case, use a gift to help you visualize. I think these are really great ways to accelerate your progress without actually going in and training.
Yeah, oftentimes how people would share these things if they weren't buying expensive instructionals or doing, monthly subscriptions to video, sites, was they would send like YouTube videos to each other or trying to do like starting points of a clip and just very inefficient. And that's sort of what I loved about what you guys seem to be offering here. Let's talk about the product itself in terms of like when you were first sort of just getting like your proof of concept sort of together versus like where you're at now. Let's talk about the product evolution in terms of what you originally sort of envisioned to where it's now to where you think it might go, and what are you guys learning?
Well, absolutely, Adolfo. And it's been definitely a huge journey. I think the first kind of sort of seed or inkling of this idea was actually ended up being something that we decided that we want to build up to. And this is the ever elusive, right, like AI video feedback. I think that what you just mentioned, uploading a video, getting feedback on that video from an AI is where the world is heading in all movement-based sports. We want to be the foundation of that. But I think, 2030, 2040, no matter what sport you use, you're going to be using some form of AI to get better. And then when we started trying to approach this problem from a technical perspective, I have an engineering background. I studied double E at Cornell. I'm not very good at engineering. And, we didn't have, this is like probably 2 years ago, a little pet project. We were relying on YOLO, this pose tracking solution to kind of give you that feedback. But we realized like it's going to be, number one, just it's going to take a long time for you to actually get that feedback, just from a user experience perspective. And we also realized that it's not going to be as accurate as you would need. Certainly not for a sport like jiu-jitsu, where, as you know, the movements are so minute, they're so subtle, they're so complex. Not to say that it can't be done, but to do this well is a much resource intensive problem to solve. And so what we thought is, hey, okay, we know we want to get to this. We know we want to do this super well.
Wow, yes, that was really interesting. But did you know, throughout history, salt has been highly valued and commonly used as currency. Warriors and sailors were sometimes given rations of salt for their wages. If they were worthy, they were said to have earned their salt. Salt Electrolytes drink mix is designed for today's warriors, athletes, and those who get after it and work up a sweat regularly. If you're eating healthy, drinking plenty of water, and working out, you need to replenish your electrolytes. With a light, refreshing flavor, salt is great to drink during your workout because it will not coat your mouth with a thick film. Salt contains 6 different electrolytes, with a touch of iodine to help maintain a healthy thyroid. No sugar, no color, no BS. Go earn your salt. And on top of that, if you use code FWB, how much should we give you off? 5%? 10%? Nah, 15%, just because we're friends. Now go get it. Salt Electrolytes.
Yeah, our initial take was, is there a way we can make and upload your video, get AI driven feedback? But this was just a huge kind of resource intensive problem to solve. We also knew that it would take a long time to actually to actually make this as good as we want it to be. And of course, that'd be super expensive development cycles that could be put towards something that maybe is a bigger problem worth solving. So that's the problem we ended up solving is, hey, instructionals are extremely long. It's hard to find the specific answer to a specific move. And we thought, hey, if we can build a solid sort of database of moves to pull from, that'll also make the eventual video feedback that much better, because now we'll have not only a robust sort of detection engine to tell you what's happening, but also a recommendation engine that's backed by a lot of this technique that we've compiled and assembled. The other kind of big thing that we're working on right now is just kind of two other components aside from the ask an AI, get a GIF. The first is
Hmm.
the first training log, AI training log, AI training journal. So the idea is, hey, look, you just, actually, let me back up a sec. My coach, Ryan Hall, who's, I mean, one of the most innovative grapplers on the planet, legend. Like he has so many like pieces of great advice to get better. Check out, I mean, he has a great pod with Lex Friedman that I've watched like a billion times. His instructions are like amazing.
Yeah, just a brilliant individual.
Yeah, he's just brilliant. And, he says two things you can do to accelerate your progress. Number one is you got to take notes. Like he's always hounding us for taking notes, having a journal, having a notebook where you log your training sessions, because it not only helps with like retention in terms of remembering, not guard retention, but like remembering what move to actually do. And then he also says, yeah, like if you can take videos of you training and ask your coach, ask someone to give you feedback on it. So those two key things, eventually we want to integrate into this app rather than kind of leaping straight into, video feedback and giving something to our customers that is not fully fleshed out, that is, giving you, God forbid, like, super bad advice on your moves, and it doesn't recognize when you're doing a knee cut versus when you're in half smash. I mean, again, very difficult things to solve for. We said, hey, we're thinking about actually creating like a coaching marketplace. So basically we have a means for finally jiu-jitsu competitors to actually get paid money through coaching, right? So we see this sort of marketplace with upper belts and eventually this user base of growing grapplers, white, blue belts, beginner belts can request these upper belts on the platform to give them feedback. And then ultimately what we want to do is rather than like us creating subpar AI video feedback system straight for the beginner grapplers, why can't we help the upper belts do more with an AI assisted technology? So it can flag things for them to work on. And that way, we're making it easy for, a black belt competitor or even like a blue belt competitor who's like beating up your hobbyist belt, black belt. It may be really easy for them to just hop on the app, view their 5 or 6 requests for video feedback. The AI has already flagged kind of the key portions there. And, within 10 to 20 minutes that brown belt who has a lot to offer to the sport is able to take home like $100 by setting an hourly price or a price for their feedback that's assisted with AI. It's called Submission Sensei. Definitely we think that AI has a place, but everything I think in general should be human-led, AI assisted. You don't want to solely rely on AI right now. That's how you get really, poor responses. That's also why, we've partnered with someone like Brendan McCaffrin, 10th Planet, black belt, founder of the PGF. He's helping us power our AI with real quality instruction. And he's an absolute legend at making jiu-jitsu super conceptual and really making the sport accessible for younger grapplers. Like my waiter sweep really evolved when I watched like a 10-minute video of his, and we're so lucky that he's helping us not only create this sort of technique library, but and not only helping us provide the right recommendations based off of the AI training journal, but we're also, with his help, working on is this kind of Socratic coach mode that really guides you towards the right answer. So rather than just giving you, if you're getting smashed in half guard, which rather than giving you a GIF of recovering your guard, or maybe you do the the giggler sweep or the knee lever sweep, what it'll do is basically ask you questions to help you try to understand how you can get out. And what that does is it'll force you to just pay attention to different parts of your body. What it's going to do is it's going to guide you as, a newer grappler, maybe using this to kind of nudge you towards the right kinds of questions to ask that'll unlock a deeper understanding of the move in question. So for example, if you are stuck in like a half smash sort of situation, it might ask something like, hey, which direction is the cross face pointing you towards? Is that the direction you want to do, you want to go towards? Do your hips have enough space to remove the leg? It would kind of guide you towards paying attention to the right part of your body so that you can kind of almost like derive the move itself. And of course, we will still have the gifts. So I think that whole notion of it not giving you the answer you want in text form as immediately, it's going to be something that we think is going to unlock a deeper understanding of you as a grappler. So you can kind of build those skills over time, that you're developing sensitivity to your body, alignment, keeping knees close to your chest. These sorts of core principles will be reiterated with this coach mode.
Interesting. So also one of the things that I'm just wondering about too, it sounds like this is very direct to the individual that is trying to address the issue, which is amazing, fantastic. And then additionally, uploading maybe something eventually and getting some sort of feedback, that type of thing. What about the like academy owner, the coaches, those pre-existing people to work in tandem with the existing students? Seems like that's something that would be like a possible big scale type of thing in terms of usage. How could like a coach maybe use this with students who are having issues?
Yeah, that's such a great point. I think that's another core problem that we found just speaking to many hundreds of early access users is and this is like our early kind of mock-ups, early wireframes is the best coaches just don't scale. They don't scale. And if you're lucky enough to have a fantastic coach, and as a coach that you are better than the average coach, and that's why your school is in such high demand. That's why people come to you and you don't maybe need to advertise as much. What Submission Sensei can do is basically take your style of coaching and scale that to multiple people. So we are working on some means to basically easily if you already have existing instructionals in place that you want to promote. The idea is when you if you join this platform as a coach, you join this sort of coaching marketplace, you can sell your instructionals to your team members and even other team members. So as a part of joining, not only are you empowering your students to get better without your direct coaching, but if they want to buy your instructionals, they can do so on the platform. We're also kind of exploring some kind of creative ways to compensate all instructors that are on the platform. We talked about this coaching marketplace where you can maybe get you can set an hourly rate, and newer grapplers can try to book that time with you. But also we're thinking about, hey, what are some other ways that we can provide compensation to new gym owners, new or people are in the competitive scene but haven't taken that step to start a gym yet. There's some ideas we're playing around. Hey, like if you can help us, our technique library is missing these sort of systems. If you can help us provide that, then every time that GIF populates, we can give you a certain amount of revenue. So that sort of creator model that, of course, YouTube has totally nailed is something that we're also interested in developing long term. But I think, as a whole, if we take a step back, I think the overarching goal of any gym owner, if you're a coach, is you don't want your students to quit. Like, you don't want your students to get so frustrated with the sport or have a catastrophic injury or quit the sport and stop their membership entirely. And I think one of our key goals is, we tell our team all the time, right? Like, we want to get you from white to blue belt as quickly as possible, and we want to make sure you don't have any blue belt blues, right? Like, we want to make sure you minimize training injuries. And we think the way to do this is through this training log. Like, if you can log even things that are bothering you, like little niggles that you have, your knee issues, right? Like I herniated a couple discs, come back from shoulder surgery, I have shoulder issues. What it can eventually do is recommend gifts from a respected PT. So that's another area we're looking at is partnering with an MMA sports rehab coach that can give prescriptive guidance on how to at least maintain your injuries. And there are a lot
Hmm.
of legal complexities here, right? Like you
Sure.
as a licensed professional in healthcare, you can't.
Right. This is not medical advice and a lot of, yeah,
Right. And
like
in fact,
HIPAA
like you
stuff
can't
and yeah.
HIPAA stuff, totally,
Hmm.
exactly. And there's certain things you can and can't do. You have to diagnose someone before you treat them. But ChatGPT already does this. It
Oh,
gave me a
sure.
really good, like, yeah, PT
A
recovery plan.
YouTube search, you know what I mean?
YouTube search.
Yeah.
Totally. The thing,
Hmm.
you don't, ChatGPT doesn't give you that visual component. And even YouTube, the PT is like talking about
Yeah.
the PT move for like majority of the 3-minute video. It's like, I just want to
Right.
know
Right.
what to do. Like, just tell me what
For
to do.
golfers too. Yeah.
For golfers, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Golfers elbow, right? Yeah, like we want to make it so that as a jiu-jitsu athlete, if you just, talk about your training to this coach, it'll guide you in not just ways to get better, but also how to stay healthy, stay mobile, stay flexible. Mobility drills are also something we're working on. If if you're a newer grappler and maybe you had your first injury, right? How do you mentally get past that? And how do you physically, there's sort of, is there a PT plan that it can help you put together maybe before you actually go to the PT or, you go to the PT, you don't feel like going there every single day or every single week. And I was really lazy about my PT. This can help you in those off days.
Mm.
So those are some other directions we're thinking about taking this project that are kind of beyond the realm of just getting better technically.
One of the things I'm wondering in terms of like just the development and evolution of the solution here is the issue of scope creep, right?
Yeah.
I know early on there's an old school site called the Grappler's Guide, and there's this individual named Jason Scully who ran it,
Jason is the
which
best.
he rolled out all kinds of features. Right, people in the forums were asking, "We want mind maps, we want this, we want that, we want that," and it was just like everything, right? And what he seemed to learn, and what I saw too, was that it's kind of the 80-20 type of thing where it's just a little bit was being used by the vast majority of users. And then you have this other stuff, maybe with a minority of loud voices that are asking for these things, but really they're not, the value in terms of like the development. So I'm wondering, how do you guys manage that type of issue? Are you just looking at analytics or what are you doing? And then how do you guys maintain that and sort of not let it get sort of beyond the scope of reality here?
Yeah, I mean, no, totally. Like, it's such a great question, and I've really strong thoughts about this. As you know, my day job is a product manager, right? I'm the lead product manager for a cybersecurity company, and I think one of the biggest scope creep is so common, and I think when you have access to a wide user base, especially jiu-jitsu, we are very opinionated people, like in general. I'm not sure why that is, but we have very strong opinions. I think there's many ways to prioritize what desired outcomes are worthwhile to do first and which are worthwhile to do later. There's a great framework that I use called RICE, which is basically reach, impact, confidence, and then level of effort. And these independent kind of components, so reach, how many users, right? How many people are asking for the mind maps, right? How much of an impact will this be on improving that particular job, right? In this case, it's remembering systems of techniques.
Mm.
And the E is level of effort, which is a huge one, right? Like, how many development cycles will it take to create this? And then how confident are we on all of these scores? Rice. I've used this in my day job as a product manager. I've used this here as well. How do you, and this is a big reason why, we chose to delay this AI video component that could have been so kind of game changing and shiny, right? Even if we had an MVP that did maybe 40-50% of the job. I think there's some AI video solutions out there today.
Mhm.
And I really applaud them for trying to tackle this problem. But you'll see it's not easy. Like, the answers it gives are just very incorrect. And
Mm.
the last thing I would want is someone to think, hey, Submission Sensei, I'm not getting any value out of this. It's giving me solutions that are just not useful, or it's giving me incorrect information. And so we wanted to avoid that and really nail and MVP with gifts that we know are going to be useful, with the training log that we know is going to be useful, and then eventually move into this space of video feedback. Prioritization, I think in general, is a complex problem to solve, but this RICE framework really helps. The plus side, though, I think, of having that sort of feedback, and in Jason's case, I mean, I'm a lifetime member of Grappler's Guide. I love
Same.
that site. It is fantastic. I've shot, like, Jason, if you're listening to this, like, I want to partner with you. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
he's a legend. And like, what I love
Yeah.
about that, the kind of redesign of that app is it's just a lot easier to get access to the information you need. And I think that was the big problem initially, is that the search function wasn't very accurate. And even now, like, if I want to get access to the right kind of technical question, say I'm doing inside spins or reverse Leva spins or
Mhm.
Kiss of the Dragon, and it's just not working, like, what do I do? If you want to learn that from, a BJJ Fanatics instructional, you have to, good luck trying to find that technique in
Yeah.
all the instructionals that you bought, or even that single instructional you bought on reverse Leva. Like, it's going to be difficult for you to find that section. If you ask Submission
Mhm.
Sensei, hey, how do I counter reverse Leva, we'll give you a pretty good response, a pretty good answer with a pretty good GIF. That's sort of, I think, the key differentiator as it stands today, is we can give you a solid answer, and it's not right all the time, right? It's going to get better over time. We're able to give you answers to some of those more nuanced questions. And one of the things I love to say, having worked in the AI space from a product lens for my day job as well, is like, this is the worst AI that you will ever see. When we launch, we're launching in end of November, still trying to get a lot of the polish right, get some improvements to the gift search right now. It's going to be the worst version of the product, and we still think it's going to be pretty damn good.
It's great to hear. And what intrigued me so much about this conversation with you, and why I really wanted to have it among, my acquaintances, I should say, Brandon McCaffrin, being old school, one of the first episodes on the show, was I feel like watching the evolution of like instructionals or this sort of online learning thing has been very interesting, because we mentioned Grappler's Guide being one of the old school ones, Grapple Arts, Budo Videos, BJJ Fanatics comes up. We've mentioned that several times on the show. And I've, not to discredit Bernardo or anything, but Fanatics feels a little long in the tooth, and to myself, right? And then we saw the spring of AOJ Plus, and then we see Submeta, Lachlan's solution, and now we're seeing a lot of Patreons by these individual competitors or whatever, athletes. And so it's nice to see the next possible evolution of this with what you guys are doing. Your thoughts on that, sort of that arc as well, because there are limitations, all that. You bring up some of the things, trying to find the right thing, trying to find that section of the instructional, where within this myriad of instructionals in my library, which may or may not be set up in a very intuitive way, or not for me to get to even find a freaking instruction of the instructional that I may own on multiple different sites. Your thoughts on the evolution of this?
I think first off, like, credit where credit is due. I mean, Bernardo, Michael Zanga, they have changed the game. I mean, they have made it so that there is a means for you to support your family as a jiu-jitsu athlete. Like, that's phenomenal. That I don't think they get enough credit for that, because maybe there's people say, hey, I'm one of many instructionals there. It's difficult for me. Hey, you still have a means of a platform. I think that's fantastic. But I also think that because their model relies on advertising how long the instructional is, if you're even an instructor and you go on this platform, you hear Gordon Ryan say, hey, 8-hour instructionals. Like, it sounds great for, in terms of bang for your buck, but are you really ever going to watch all 8 hours? No, definitely not. You want, and this is where I think, like, from a instructional platform perspective, Adolfo, I really got to give, Lachlan, like, so many props, because at least for me personally, and granted, like, his instructors are one of the only instructors that I've ever seen where he shows you the move before he does it. Like, he has like a 10-second clip before
That's so
every
great.
move where right? Like, he actually shows you the
Yeah.
freaking move, and then he
Yeah.
explains it. And then
Right.
he also gives rolling footage. And I have my thoughts on, like, actually, if you're paying $300 for instructional and there's no rolling footage, it's crazy.
Yeah. What are we doing? Yeah.
What are we doing? But I mean, the fact that, I mean, Lachlan, and I have never used Submeta, but I'm sure, like, even there, just the fact that you see the move that he's about to show you, you're not trying to clip that move in a 45-minute DVD as a part of a 8-part series, you know? And I think the search index problem is really what we're focused on solving is, you know, how do we give you access to the move, the
Mhm.
situation that you want? And it just real quickly, I also mentioned, you know, in terms of like, in my opinion, like really, really great instructionals. I know, I mean, Gordon Ryan, they're really, really expensive, but one of the things he does really well, it does it all, just like Lachlan, and just the rolling footage, right? Like you want to see these moves in action. And actually, that's another thing that we're working on now is how can we show glimpses of these moves IRL. And you know, Brandon, I respect him on so many levels from, you know, martial arts perspective, from my as a mentor to me in terms of being an entrepreneur, like what he's done with the PGF, basically
Mhm.
taking, you know, something that is jujitsu, which is such a niche thing, and now he's on his 8th season, and he has, you know, partners like Hoist Gracie on board. And like, I mean, it is so freaking awesome to work with someone that sees jujitsu to be so like is actually trying to make jujitsu so much bigger than it is. And you know, his like level of like vision and like, you know, big, hairy, audacious goals are just so inspiring to me. I would love to see a world where like Submission Sensei actually ends up being not just, you know, a video feedback system for jujitsu, but also like Jason as well, right? Expanding into other sports, right? Like not just jujitsu, but you know, wrestling, like
Mhm.
judo, MMA, striking, or even other movement-based sports. If we nail down this AI video feedback technology over the next 6 months, 8 months, then why can't we expand that to tennis or swimming or salsa or bachata? So, you know,
Yeah.
after we kind of launch into the App Store, Adolfo, we know we definitely want to make a concerted effort towards expanding the scope of this pretty drastically.
I want to talk about your partnership with Brandon and how you guys even how that happened because Brandon, as you mentioned, he's one of my heroes. I think he's one of the best teachers out there, you know, and maybe in my top 5 right now currently. But he's been so busy with the PGF, as you mentioned, and to see him come from a place I never even heard of that he put on the map
Hmm.
called Decatur, Alabama, right?
Yep.
Where
We're going
I
there in
mean,
2 weeks. Yeah.
yeah, I would argue that he, you know, brought a lot of jujitsu on the map for the Deep South, you know, through his work. Early on, flying with his wife to Los Angeles to study at 10th Planet under Eddie, and then coming back to Decatur and opening a school there, becoming like social media quote unquote relevant, and just fantastic instruction. A super successful business there, scaling it out to like BMax YouTube 365 stuff, and then he's got a online solution as well, which is, you know, really nice. I'd love to see him, you know, add more to it because it's so good, but I know he's really busy with the PGF. I mean, just such a successful entrepreneur and jujitsu practitioner in general, just and all around just fantastic guy. How have your guys' paths crossed?
It's funny is like I had an interaction with BMAC on RBJJ like 5, 6 years ago. It was like during an AMA or something like that. He was talking
Mm,
about the PGF. And I mean, just the fact that like, you know, I bought his instructional triangles back in the
yeah.
day when, you know, we were studying closed guard in class. And like the fact that I could actually land triangles and do them with my, you know, 5'5" stubby legs, like, it's a credit to BMAC. Like super underrated in my opinion, instructionals in general. As someone
Oh
that's
yeah. It's a best kept
man,
secret. Yeah.
it really is like so great. As a part of submission, let's say one of the things that we challenge our team to do is like every week we gotta like basically clip and annotate gifs or techniques from this library that he gave us, right? And so now I'm like really able to like study from BMAC, from the instruction, really literally taking notes because that's how you train the AI. Like, man, this guy is such a good instructor. Like, if I had started off with him, I feel like I would have gotten so much better so much more quickly. Also, like, you know, we talked about how he's quite literally a visionary, put Decanter on the map. He started PGF, and now it's, you know, I think Flow has the rights to stream PGF, and it's only going to get bigger from here. But also just like, man, he's such a good human being. We are so extraordinarily fortunate. At first, we tried to work with my coach, Ryan, And it didn't work out for a few different reasons. He was super interested in the idea, but it didn't work out. We're very disappointed. And then we started working with another like amazing person, Matt Arroyo, and we had a
Wow.
series of video calls with him, and he's again like a really great human being. And
Mhm.
again, that didn't work out. It just didn't seem like the right time for him. And we had another person that introduced us as well, Vivek from Pentagon MMA. They're both kind of starting a second location for their gyms, and it just didn't seem like the timing worked out,
Mhm.
and among other reasons. But that didn't work out, and so after we were this close to signing with Ryan, this close to signing with BMAC, I was like, we got to get someone on board with this vision who can give us access to a technique library, right? Like first and
Mhm.
foremost, and that's kind of like we wanted someone that can give us access to a technique library that we're able to train the app in, like. And so
Mhm.
we're very passionate about this. Like we don't want to steal anything from anyone. And I think there are a lot of other apps out there or websites out there where like, maybe they record instructionals from Jiu-Jitsu Training. Like I could have taken gifts from Danaher, or Gordon Ryan or anyone else, right? But we want to get
Mhm.
permission because I don't think it's right ethically to just
Mhm.
steal stuff that people have worked really hard on. And so we went this hard route of just trying to find someone that would give us access. And BMAC was like legit, like top 5 on my list. I was like,
Oh
because
yeah.
I'd seen that AI robot video, I'd seen what he done with the PGF. I was like, and I've interacted with him on Reddit. This guy is such a cool person. I had no expectations that he would respond to me. He was one of the first, actually probably like second or third emails that actually went out. So basically, Adolfo, for about like a month after Matt Roy didn't work out, I went on this sort of prospecting email, like it's sort of behind the scenes scrappy startup story, right? We just
Mhm.
like every day I'd send 5 emails to 5 jujitsu influencers. And they were personalized emails. I don't think VNAC was one of the first ones that I sent out. He was probably in the second week. I sent it is for a month straight, but he responded like almost. I remember as soon as I sent the email, he responded saying, "Yeah, I'd love to chat." Like I knew this is the right person. Because number one, he's like recommending me like amazing books to read, like which is great, right? Like he's telling me what it's like to spin something up from nothing. I think he said he started like 6 or 7 businesses over the course of his career. So he's a seasoned entrepreneur, and
Yeah.
we're diving into like negotiation for this partnership like day one, no delaying. And I was like, how lucky, how blessed are we that this is the person that stars align to work with. Like this person
Oh,
is
totally. Yeah, totally.
fantastic. And I went to it just expecting like, hey, maybe we'll get we'll have someone who's decent enough to train our AI model to build this technique library of gifts. I mean, but Brandon consistently, he's shown like support, encouragement. Also his BJJ 365 is phenomenal. It has
Mhm.
gi stuff, it has wrestling stuff, and also just like he's such a great human being who's so available, and
Mhm.
just very kind of good energy, very generous, and he's also just a brilliant like technologist.
Mm.
He literally like vibe codes things just for his spare time. And like he's always sending us links like, hey, Vertex AI from Gemini sent this out, check this out. So he has
Wow.
that sort of systems thinking mindset, and we are so we're so fortunate, and he's become an inspiration to me in many ways, like what he's
Yeah.
done from a sport and his sort of spirit giving generosity. Matt Arroyo, same sort of giving spirit, where things didn't work out, but he still said, "Hey, look, until you find someone else, you can still use whatever techniques you annotated." So, it's just really nice seeing and interacting with, these heroes. Even Ryan, I mean, he's a really kind person. A lot of your heroes, you expect them to be something that they're not. And certainly, everyone has bad days sometimes. What's really remarkable is like, yeah, a lot of the maybe it is worthwhile to meet your heroes because they actually are phenomenal, decent, giving people.
Yeah, it's the best when they are someone like Brandon. So yeah, kudos
Mhm.
to you for landing that. That's fantastic. Now, 90-degree turn here, Sid. Can you give me a non-jujitsu fondest childhood memory?
Yeah, when I was little, I was super into tennis. I love playing tennis a lot.
Mm,
And I think yeah, there was a time where I was playing with a buddy of mine, and like we were like neck to neck rivals, Adolfo, right? His name's Garv. We were like neck to neck, and like he and I like legit we were like arch enemies when it came to tennis and best friends,
yeah.
really good friends. But like I still remember there was like this one match. I must have been like 12 or 13. He must have been, yeah, 13. We were playing tennis and it started raining, right? And he was winning that first set initially. And so I was like, hey, Garb, we wanna call it quits? Like it's raining. I totally get it. You won this one. He's like, no, I don't wanna. I want to keep going. I was like, all right, I'm gonna beat you. And it started like pouring down super hard, and there's like lightning strikes, and I ended up winning the second set. And then the third set like went to
Yeah.
these tie breaks, right? Yeah, went to a tie break, and man, like this tie break went up to like it's win by two. It went up to
Hmm.
like 32-30, something like that. Something
Wow.
crazy. And we were just like playing in the rain and lightning,
So
just
it's like
really
you
trying to
score,
win.
he scores, you score, he scores. Yeah.
I remember being so thrilled I won that match. Now he's like way better than me because he actually played in high school.
Yeah.
And like whenever we meet up, like everyone knows like he's like the 10. He played in college as well, but like man, I always
Wow.
got that one
Yeah, you
over
got
him,
that one over his head. Yeah. Good for
Exactly,
you. All in your
exactly.
face. You know what I mean?
That's funny. It's funny. Yeah, he's a
Yeah.
good dude.
Jiu-jitsu and entrepreneurialism, it's a tough road. Can you tell me a time you ever considered quitting or taking time off and why?
For sure. There's so many roller coasters. I think there were probably two key times. And the first, and really it came down to, yeah, when unfortunately, like it didn't work out between Ryan and I, because he was really enthusiastic about the idea. And there were just some terms, like I said, we didn't agree on. But I was really, I was really sad. I was really down because we spent a lot of time, like probably close to a month trying to get him on board. Didn't work out. And, that was probably one time. And I think, and the another one was like when it didn't work out with Matt. We were so happy that Matt is on board. It didn't work
Is on
out.
board. Dang.
Right, right,
Yeah.
right. I mean, it was Matt especially was really devastating because we thought, hey, if we can get Matt, it's game over because obviously not only is his social presence, but he also, I think, has some phenomenal kind of marketing, prowess.
Mm.
But I think we were very close to just being like, hey, okay, I guess this isn't happening. I wouldn't say we were ever going to plan on quitting, but I think there's just a sort of theme in jiu-jitsu that I think applies to any sort of business endeavor, which is perseverance. That's like the single most important thing that anyone I think can cultivate perseverance and grit. And Ryan talks about this a lot in I think in one of the podcasts he did with Lex. He says Ryan's had like 20 or 30 surgeries, something like that. Still trains
Mhm.
as much as he can.
Great.
And I think he's fighting again soon. But just this mentality, I will never ever quit. If quitting is not on the table, then you're already going. No matter over a long enough time horizon, things are going to go your way, and there's going to be downs, there's going to be ups, but over a long enough time horizon, if you're not ever going to quit, things are going to go your way. And I think the same thing, it applies to jujitsu as well, right? Like there've been so many times when I don't know about you, Adolfo, but like I've wanted to quit the sport, coming back from like a crazy like injury or tore my
Oh
labrum,
yeah.
came back, tore my other one. It's like all these things. But like if you just promise to yourself, hey, I will never ever quit ever, then you're already going to do better than 90% of the people out there. Yeah, I think just this sort of theme of resilience and grit is is something that just is so applicable to both jujitsu entrepreneurship as well.
That's so funny because the whole time you're describing that, it ties right back to your tennis game, right? That fondest childhood memory that sort of defines Sid here. He's that kid that just won't give up in the rain. He just has to get that one win at the end there. He just won't give up after all that scoring back and forth. So good for you, man.
That's very kind, man.
So Sid, can you give me an aha moment?
I mean, I think, oh gosh, there's probably been a couple. I'll name one that comes to mind. And that is when I was still a white belt. Someone was showing a move. I think it was some sort of X guard technical stand up. which kind of blew my mind for the first time as a shorter person in general. I got to know, wait, there's jujitsu outside of closed guard? What? That's crazy. When the instructor said like, "Hey, I'm gonna do this one more time, and I'm not gonna talk. You just listen." I was
Mm,
like, I think that in itself may have like kind of sparked the seed for what this is, because after he said that, I started asking instructor, "Hey, any questions? Like, can you just do it one more time? Just can you
mhm.
just do the move one more time?"
Yeah.
And I found like, honestly, I think that the room collectively gets better, because a lot of times instructors, and this doesn't apply for everyone, but especially if you're newer, white or blue belt, early blue belt especially, like, you don't need to know all the details. I mean, that a lot of that stuff is just noise for you. You just want to see
Mhm,
basically how things work and then do the move. And when you're getting that sort of instruction, I think a lot of instructors tend to just explain every detail, which is so great if you're
mhm,
an upper level belt trying to master those details. Jiu-jitsu is a game of micro adjustments, absolutely.
mhm.
But show the move without talking, please.
That's
That was
fascinating.
the first thing. And then the second thing I
That's a
think
great one.
is, oh, thank you. The second thing I think is, yeah, just this idea of, man, like, treat it as play. Like, don't, I use this, we started this conversation with self-study, right? And I think in general, I was thinking about, as I was prepping for this podcast, do I want to talk about self-study? Because back in high school, I did pretty well in school and did poorly in college for alcohol related reasons. But, like, I think in order for you to study well, you gotta make it seem like play. You gotta make it seem playful.
Mm,
You can't think of going to open mat or going to jujitsu or even entrepreneurship as like a grind. Like, it's gotta be something you enjoy. Otherwise, like, it's gonna be a miserable experience. I think in general, a lot of people, even in entrepreneurship, jujitsu as well, they talk about this idea of like things being a grind. You gotta do the thing that you don't want to do. Well, if you're doing the right thing that aligns well with your strengths, it's going to seem like play. And I think that's the thing. Like, for me personally, from a jujitsu lens, Adolfo, I wasn't taught any other guard but closed guard for like months and months and
mhm.
months. And I have
Yeah.
five legs. I didn't know that you could open a guard. I didn't know that you could do butterfly sweeps and make this sort of game. And I think that, and Jason actually talks about this in his Grappler's Guide. Like, he thinks closed guard is an advanced guard, and
Mhm.
that he thinks it should be called close guard because you can actually keep your legs open and still play a really good closed guard.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that also, just realizing that, I should follow moves. I should chase the rabbit holes that I'm really interested in, because that'll keep me in the sport for longer. Is a piece of advice that a visiting black belt who came to 50/50 a couple, probably years ago, said to me. He's like, "Hey, like, just keep things playful. At the end of the day, like, you're here to have fun, and keep things playful. Drill a lot. It might be boring at times, but
Mhm.
if things are getting too boring, maybe that's a sign that you can find another part of the sport that keeps things exciting and playful."
I guess that's what comp classes are for, right? If you really want to go
Right,
nuts or whatever it
right,
may be.
right.
Yeah, sure. Sure. I love that you mentioned the closed guard example as well, because that's something Robert Nacky of Island Top Team, he won't even teach closed guard initially too. He starts you open guard. He won't even let you play closed guard, I think, for the first few
Wow,
months or something like that. Very
that's
controversial, but
phenomenal.
that's what he does. And then I
Yeah,
remember
yeah.
Carl Pravec, the Silver Fox, too, what he does in his closed guard, he often opens up the feet and creates tension on the side, so it feels like
Mm,
he's never opened it. So the person inside the guard, right, it thinks they're still in closed guard. It's fascinating, and then he could move his hip and all the stuff. It's just a wonderful take on that concept. But Sid, you've had so many interactions with so many great instructors. In your opinion, what makes a great instructor to you?
yeah, I think probably three main things. The first is this concept of keeping things playful. I think that so one of the things that I think this is something Ryan does really well is, he'll make you warm up by. I remember there's one class, advanced class, where he put on some music and he was just like, man, just like move to the music, just like get
Mm,
loose.
Mm.
Not to say like, pull
Yeah,
out your
we're
dance moves, right? But like
interpretive dancing. Yeah.
interpretive dance, exactly. But you just get loose and get playful, do some shadow boxing, just do whatever floats your boat at that moment in time. Jiu-jitsu is a martial art. It's an art just as much as it is a science. There is a creative expression element. I think too often, because we're trying to beat up the other person, we don't think about the creative expression component of this martial art. So I say number one, they tend to keep things playful and light. Number two, I think that they give the appropriate level of detail to the right students. And I mentioned this before, but I think many instructors go through the move explaining detail step by step by step, which may not be the most effective use of someone's time to attend, especially as a hobbyist. If you're a hobbyist in jiu-jitsu, your time is probably at a premium when it comes to training the sport. So if you want to go spend an hour in class, you want to make sure that every minute of that class is going to be like maximum leverage, right? So I think being concise with your instruction, showing the move again, is something that instructors do really well. And of course, like the third one is, if I had to think about it, is there's four. Okay, so I'm gonna add another one. The third one is, man, training stand up. It's training stand up. I feel like so many gyms for
Good point.
space mainly, right? Like you start on your knees, and I was at a gym that did that, my first gym, and I didn't know how to finish a single leg until I was 6 months into my blue belt. Once I spent like a year just starting on my feet, going for a single leg or letting them get my single leg and working on defense, collar ties, snap downs, it just made jujitsu, whole stand up movement. It unlocked so much. It unlocked so much enjoyment too, because I wasn't playing by the same set of rules that other people that only started from their knees did. So definitely I'd say work on stand up somehow, right? Even if that's just like doing some single leg drills after class, or before class. If you're at a gym where you start from the knees and the instructor makes you do that and you only do situational stuff from the guard, uh, maybe spend 5 to 10 minutes drilling single legs after class. And I think that's probably, if there is a fourth one, would be just instructors that value each of their students kind of equally. Obviously, there's going to be instructors that, if you're in the competition team, you're probably going to get a little bit more of a spotlight. There's going to be a little bit more focus on you. But I've seen definitely many situations where like an instructor doesn't give the white belt as much attention or is as patient with the white belt as they could have been or as they are with other maybe more seasoned grapplers. And I think that just sets a bad tone. It sets a bad culture because then upper belts also feel this sort of sense of entitlement, and that sort of thing it's surprisingly common. Yeah. So if I had to summarize there, first, number one, keep things playful, keep things concise, show the move, right? Start from the feet, and then be a coach to everyone.
That's great. Well, Sid, I want to be
Uh,
respectful of your time. Was there anything you wanted to discuss that perhaps we didn't cover?
actually, if you don't mind, Adolfo, I'd love to hear from you. I mean, you've done so many podcasts now. What has this journey been like for you? How do you maintain this sort of consistency and discipline? Like it's so not easy trying to do what you're doing. How has it been? And do you have any lessons learned?
Oh, well, much like you mentioned before, in terms of making the decision not to quit,
Hmm.
I think that comes into play with something like this, or even my jujitsu. I started jujitsu late, and so I was like, okay, this is just something I've wanted to do forever. And I always joke that I was the quitter kid, right? You open my closet, and it was the unicycle, the karate key, the juggling things, the magic set. Something that I would just start and just park it and throw it in the closets. At this stage in my life, I want to be, committed to what I'm committed to, right? And just be all in 100%. So I think that's sort of like an important aspect is making that decision and sticking to it. Like you said, no matter what, you gave the example of the injuries and the setbacks. And, it's really simple. Just in a way, it's just persist, right? It's just continuing. It's that tennis game in the rain, right? And then also like a lot of the discoveries for myself seems to evolve over time, right? So I'm firmly set on, oh, I'm a this player, and then over time that changes. Oh, what was I thinking? I'm going to be this player, or this philosophy is my philosophy. Oh, now it's this philosophy. So what I'm finding more and more is that just evolves, depending on sort of almost like when you're at, like in terms of time. And oftentimes everyone's right? It's just different perspectives in terms of like those that want to do self-defense. Sure, that's super important versus sport jujitsu versus gi jujitsu versus no gi jujitsu versus, whatever it may be, training philosophies, eco, not eco, traditional, positional. It's almost like everyone's right if it works for you, because the outcomes are sort of what sort of dictate those type of things too. So yeah, it's been really cool.
That's fantastic. I mean, I love that. I love so many pieces on that. Like what you said about, yeah, basically first off, like the grit, perseverance, sticking through doing, maybe, I'm sure there's been times, maybe it was for this podcast. I really don't want to do this podcast, but you still do it anyway. You still show up, right? And also what you said about maybe this philosophy, this teaching style isn't, it's not that it's not right. It just may not be right for you critically at this time, at this point in your life. I think that's the other thing when, jiu-jitsu is inherently like we call it a meritocracy, right? Everyone knows who beats them. Everyone knows how they got beat. Everyone knows where they stand in a room after you roll with someone. But I think just remembering that, like, ultimately there's no one in your life living your life but you. It's literally just you. So the only comparison should be with the person you were yesterday, right? And I think the other thing you said was very interesting. How your philosophy shifted from time to time. I think it's such a powerful thing, because change is how you grow. Change and growth are their siblings. They're yin and yang. You can't have growth without change. You can't change without growing. So I think it was Bezos, right, that says, like, have strong opinions, make sure they're loosely held. So with new information, you can kind of pivot and change.
Another thing that now let's come to think about Submission Sensei itself, I want to talk about the early access option. What can we expect? I'm sure you guys are overloaded probably with interested parties. Tell me your consideration process for that, and what did those people see, and just that whole thing.
Yeah, so we have a select group of users that are kind of helping us guide the direction for this product. If you are interested, your listeners who are interested in doing an early access program, step one would be to join our wait list. It's on SubmissionSensAI, not EI. .com, submissionsensei.com. There's a wait list there. You can enter your information. And then all you got to do is just send me a short email just explaining why you think it'd be a good fit for this early access program. And as a part of this early access, you'd basically be the first group of people to see new features, to test out new features. So what we're really looking for are really forward-minded, innovative grapplers. Maybe you have development background. Maybe you just like cool technology. And of course, we're not looking for any particular belt level, white belts, blue belts, purple belts, black belts, but we are looking for folks that are just interested in driving this new evolution for how grappling can be taught. So that's really important.
That's awesome. So Sid, where can we get more information about you and everything that you're up to and Submission Sensei?
Oh, thanks, Adolfo. Yeah, hit up submissionsensei.com or Instagram channel, Submission Sensei, AI at the end there. Or yeah, hit me up on Instagram as well, sid.nanda. And yeah, if you have any questions about the app, let us know. We'll be at the PGF qualifiers in Alabama, kind of promoting this, and you'll probably see us at Newbie Worlds as well. So yeah, thank you so much, Adolfo. This has been a fantastic conversation. Been a great host, so really appreciate it.
Thanks, Sid. All of that Sid mentioned will be in the show notes and probably all over the screen too as we're discussing it. I am your host, Adolfo Ferranda. Please feel free to go buy me some coffee at buymecoffee.com/forever white belt. And check us out at North Bay Jiu Jitsu here in Novato, California, just north of San Francisco. Check out your DojoChimp Gis. Go drink your salt electrolytes. And thanks again, Sid. I can't wait to follow up and, with over some time and see the progression of Submission Sensei and everything that you guys are up to, man.
Awesome. It's been great, man.
All right, everyone. We'll see you guys next time.